What's up, peeps? I'm here. I know it took me a few days to do this video, but I'm here to review all the Star Wars films, basically. Reviewing them, like, with my beanie on. Reviewing all the Star Wars films, 1 through 6. And then, so, I'm gonna start off, I'm gonna do 1 through 3, then 4, 5, and 6. I'm gonna do it in that order. I know a lot of people want me to do it 4, 5, and 6, and I don't know, I'm doing it the other way. Because I feel like it's much more easier, and 3, in my opinion, leads up to 4, so I'm just do it that way. So let me start off with episode 1, Phantom Menace. This movie's infamous for people hating it. A lot of people think this movie's dog shit. I don't think it's as bad as people made it out to be. In episode 1, yeah, there were some shitty things in it. Jake Lloyd, the pod racing stuff. I mean, it looked cool, but it really didn't need to be in there. But there were some cool things, and the story was basically, it's Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. It starts off basically them going to the Trade Federation blockade thing. And then that's basically the movie. They gotta try to, then they go to Naboo, talk to the Gungans, and they meet Jar Jar. That's another thing. People infamously hate Jar Jar. He never really bothered me. I mean, I feel like I could filter him out. He never really bothered me that much, you know? And then, basically, they gotta try to protect the Queen, and then you meet Darth Maul, who works for Sidious. You don't see his face. For the first 2 movies, you don't see Sidious's face. He wears like a hoodie, you can only see like part of his mouth. And then, he basically, Darth Maul was pretty cool. And then, I mean, then they meet Anakin on Tatooine, and then, yeah, they meet Anakin on Tatooine when he was like 9. And then they tease their relationship with Padme, which I look at it weirdly now. Like, now that fucking, in this movie, Anakin's like 8 years old. You know, like, oh my god. And then they have the pod racer scene. Then he goes with the Jedi, because they think, Qui-Gon thinks he sees something in him. And then, Darth Maul shows up, they have a little fight, and then they kind of leave, and then they go to the Jedi Temple, where Yoda and the other Jedi are kind of reluctant to train Anakin, because they feel like, oh, he's too young, or whatever, old, or whatever. But I think then they finally decide to teach him when they reach to the final battle, which basically is just a big, there's two battles going on. Anakin and Qui-Gon are fighting Darth Maul, which is definitely a good fight. I thought the fight was good, and then it ended shitty. And then you'll have the space battles, which Anakin, I guess he ended up piloting one of those Naboo starfighters, and he blew up I think he blew up the blockade. Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, I'm just talk about the Maul, Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon fight. It wasn't bad. Darth Maul, when he pulled out the double lightsaber, that shit was badass. But then Qui-Gon dies, which, I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, I had a feeling, because they're going to try to set up Anakin training, Obi-Wan training Anakin, so that made sense. But the way they killed Maul was such a big bitch way to do it. I mean, yeah, in Clone Wars he ended up surviving, but I'm talking about in terms of the movies, he's dead. And the way they just bitched him out, I did not like. You know, Obi-Wan just jumps and slices him in half. And then it ends with Obi-Wan deciding to train Anakin, and then basically, and then Qui-Gon's funeral. That's pretty much how the movie ends. So what would I rate episode 1? I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. There were some, actually, you know what? I'll give it a 7. I mean, I know some people hate the movie. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. I'm gonna be honest. I don't even think the prequels are which I'll get to kind of the end. I'll talk about the prequels more when I kind of finish the prequel series. I'm only at 1 right now, so I don't think episode 1 is as bad as people make it out to be. Just saying. Okay. So yeah, I'll give it a 6.5. So there were some enjoyable parts to it. Now to episode 2, Attack of the Clones. This movie starts off with Padme's ship being attacked, or the fake queen, whatever, dying. Anakin is much older. He's coming with Obi-Wan, and basically the movie he falls in love with Padme, which the way it starts is so creepy. Yeah, the creepy because he just kind of watches, and then and then bounty hunters are trying to kill Padme, so they tease Jango Fett, and there's like the other one. I forgot what her name was, but she ends up getting killed by Bubba because she revealed what his name was. So he shoots her with like a dart, and then basically leaves after that. And then Obi-Wan and Anakin split up. Obi-Wan goes to Kamino to discover the clone troopers. Oh my god. She keeps going in front of my video. Camera. Then Anakin basically has to... Oh my god. Stay over here. And then Anakin has to protect Padme, so they take her to Naboo. There they do the love. Oh god. I look at it creepy because how young Anakin was in the first movie, and then in this one he looks... It didn't really look like Padme aged all that much. Because in the first movie, she looked like she was like 20-something, and Anakin was like 8, so she should be like 40. Because Anakin looked like he was in his early 20s, so she should have looked like she was like 40-something. Just saying, but whatever. Fuck continuity, right? The Camino planet looked really good. I liked the rain effect, and then Jango and Obi-Wan fought, which is kind of cool. It's kind of a little bit of a cool fight there. Then basically Obi-Wan leaves to chase down Jango, and yeah, it's kind of then Obi-Wan kind of hides from Jango, and then he discovers the. I will do a video. Sorry. But he discovers Genios. I forgot what the planet Genios, that planet where they do the big arena battle in episode 2 in the end. But then he gets captured by Count Dooku. Oh, God. Let me just talk about Dooku. The reason I hate Dooku so much is because he replaced Darth Maul. Dooku to me seemed like a villain for the first movie. Darth Maul was so much better. Dooku was just generic. He really didn't impress me all that much. It's like you coming from Darth Maul and then you get this fucking guy. You know what I mean? Then Anakin and Padme end up trying to save Obi-Wan, and then they get captured too. And then they have to fight these. Now we're at the arena scene, and basically this was one of the only really cool parts of the movie was this scene where they fight like all the big creatures, like thing that looked like a giant rhino, and then the giant praying mantis thing, and then like it looked like a tiger. I don't know. They break out, and then all the Jedi show up, but there's too many droids, and the Jango ends up getting killed by Mace Windu. I didn't really like the way that was done. I think Jango should have escaped. I felt like the way they did that, Jango just gets his head chopped off. It was kind of lame. And then the clones show up. That was really cool. And then Obi-Wan and Anakin try to fight Count Dooku, and he pretty much kicks their asses, and then leaves. And then then Yoda shows up. And they have a little bit of a battle, which was kind of cool. I know one of the big complaints, Yoda should not be using a lightsaber. Dude, this was in the past. And it was kind of cool the way Yoda is like a master swordsman for a guy his size. And they had a little bit of a force battle, then Dooku kind of escapes, and then you see Anakin get his robot hand, and then Anakin and Padme get married. So what would I rate Attack of the Clones? 5.5. In my opinion, Attack of the Clones is always my least favorite prequel. I know a lot of people would say 1. I think 2 was... At least 1, there was Darth Maul. 2, there's just... The villain was lame. The love angle with Padme and Anakin. I mean, yeah, it was in 3, but with 3, I felt like it was a little bit better than they did it in 2. It was just so awkward. Like, their scenes were just awkward. Oh, Also, Anakin slaughters the Tusken Raiders. That's why it's kind of a tease of him joining the dark side in a way. When he like slaughters all the Tusken Raiders. Um, but overall, I mean, there were some cool moments in this movie, but oh, are you kidding me? It's dying already? I gotta just plug it in. Alright. Yeah, but there were some cool moments, but just some things I didn't like. But I don't think it was a terrible movie. So 5.5. Now, Revenge of the Sith. My favorite prequel of the three. Actually, I wouldn't even in general say it's one of my favorite Star Wars movies. I think the story of it was just awesome. So 3. It starts off with Anakin and Obi-Wan, much older now, and their starfighters, along with clones, are trying to save Chancellor Palpatine. He was captured by Dooku. So, they go to his little blockade ship. Also, on his blockade ship, they debut General Grievous. He was also in the show, but in the movies, this kind of, in a way, is his debut. And they go there, they kill a couple of droids, and then they finally meet Dooku. And then Dooku takes out Obi-Wan for a split second, and then Anakin just pretty much kills him. Like, I didn't understand, like, Dooku was such a... They kind of made him look like, oh, he's this dominant force, and then in this movie he gets bitched out. Like, he just gets killed by Anakin. Gets his hands chopped off, and then I like, though, that Palpatine's, like, saying, you should just kill him. Kill him. And then he does. Just chops his head off. And then Palpatine and Obi-Wan, they get captured again by General Grievous. They break out. They kill all the droids. Grievous escapes. And then they land Grievous's that ship they were on. They crash landed on Coruscant, and then then the movie kind of. Oh, it also was revealed that Padme is pregnant. Then Anakin has visions of his Padme dying, like his mom in Episode 2. Then also Anakin wants to be a master, but they didn't want to grant him the rank. And all of a sudden, no, that's the one thing I didn't get though. The Jedi are like skeptical of Anakin again. They were cool with him in 2, and then we're skeptical of him now. I mean, I agree. Some people, the biggest complaints of Hayden Christensen were he whines a lot. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, he does. But I mean, there's always been whiny characters in movies. I mean, he's not the only one. I mean, come on. But also, Obi-Wan is sent to Utapau to fight Grievous. So he goes there. Then Yoda goes to Kashyyyk with the Wookiees. This was definitely a part. They just wanted to show Chewbacca. That's why. Then, during the movie, you see Anakin and Palpatine talk a lot. Like, there was that scene where they're in the bubble show thing, where it was revealed that we brought up Darth Plagueis, and that there's a power to prevent people from dying, and Anakin wants to know about it. So Anakin talks to Palpatine again. There he reveals he is the Sith Lord, Darth Sidious. Well, he doesn't really reveal his name, but he's just like, yes, I am the Sith Lord. And Anakin, they threaten to kill him, but then he walks out, and then he goes to make Master Windu, and then he tells Windu, and then Windu, who else was there? It was Kit Fisto, and then 2 other Jedi go there to confront the Chancellor. There he kind of reveals himself, and then they have like a little bit of a battle. He kills like the 2 other Jedi like real quick. Also during this battle, well, I think before this battle, then you have the Grievous and Obi-Wan fight. It was cool at the beginning. You see General Grievous like with his forearms with the 4 lightsabers. The one thing I didn't really like though, I didn't like the chase part. You didn't have to put that in there. They could have skipped that part of it, but definitely it was a cool little fight though. And then in the end, Obi-Wan shoots him in the chest, and that kills him. Then Palpatine kills the other guys, and then him and Mace Windu have a little bit of battle, which was a cool scene. And then he has Palpatine down, and then shocks him, and then Windu is blocking with his lightsaber, and then it's kind of hitting Palpatine, and his face is starting to get really, really wrinkled. And then Anakin shows up, and then it looks like Mace Windu is gonna kill the Chancellor, and then Anakin shows up and is like, "No, you can't do this." And then when he's about to strike him, he cuts off Mace Windu's hand, and then Palpatine just shoots him off of a building with lightning. And then there, they turn Anakin to the dark side. Anakin gets the name Darth Vader, and then pretty much his first mission is to go to the Jedi Temple and just kill all the Jedi younglings, which I'll get to that scene. And then also they do the Order 66 thing. Oh, and you also see the clones following Anakin. It was a pretty badass scene. I thought the scene was pretty dope. Then he goes to the Jedi Temple, and then like all the kids are like, "What are we to do?" And they think because they think Anakin's trying to help him. When he goes in and he turns on the lightsaber the first time, I'm like, "Oh my god!" And then also Order 66, all the clone troopers pretty much turn on all the Jedi. Even Commander Cody turns on Obi-Wan, but Obi-Wan ends up surviving. Then Yoda kills the clone troopers on Kashyyyk, and then then he leaves, ends up going back to Coruscant, and then Anakin talks to Padme for a little bit, and then he leaves for Mustafar, because there he has to kill like all the Viceroy and the Separatist guys, basically. It was definitely a cool thing. I thought there was some cool shit in this movie. And then Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting all the clone troopers. And then, fucking, they find the video, and the video is showing Anakin bowing to the Emperor. I'm calling him, yeah, he's Emperor at this point. Or bowing down to Sidious. And Obi-Wan doesn't want to fight Anakin, because, they're like brothers. But, because Yoda doesn't think Obi-Wan's powerful enough to face the Emperor. So, and then Yoda even says he's consumed by Darth Vader. It was a cool little scene there. And then Obi-Wan goes to Padme. Then, basically wants to know where Anakin is. And she tells him that he turned to the dark side. And she doesn't want to believe him. She does know where he's going. So she takes a ship, piloted by C-3PO, and then they go to fucking Mustafar, but Obi-Wan sneaks aboard. So now, and then the scene, though, when Anakin is killing all the Separatist leaders and he turns around and his eyes are all yellow, that was a cool moment. That was a fucking cool moment right there. And then you see him just kind of watching the lava planet just with, like, tearing up, because maybe kind of his last little thing of humanity's leaving him. And then Padme lands. Then he sees Obi-Wan, and she's trying to convince him, no, just come on, don't do this. And then she comes, Obi-Wan comes out, and then he basically thinks that, oh, this is a trap trying to kill me, so he chokes her. Then then Obi-Wan lets her go, and then Anakin and Obi-Wan talk. In my opinion, this is the best battle of the Star Wars universe, in my humble opinion. I think the battle was just so awesome. Then they have a little bit of a speech, and then basically they battle after this. And the battle is so awesome. Also, Yoda meets up with Palpatine, well, Sidious, and then they talk, and then they have a battle. Which the battle was dope. I thought the battle was pretty cool. I thought it was a cool battle there, too. And it was kind of just going back and forth between battles. Like, it was going between Anakin and Obi-Wan, then Sidious and Yoda. The Sidious and Yoda fight was cool. They're using the Force, and they're in, like, the part where they talk the politics, and they're fucking using the Force back and forth. And then they have, like, that big Force moment, and then Yoda gets blown off, and then Yoda just kind of leaves. He just kind of leaves. I mean, it did end weird, though, but it was still cool. And then, Episode 3, well, now we're in Anakin and Obi-Wan fighting. I wanted us to get the Yoda and Sidious one done, and then they just kind of just fight. They get into the main control room, then they fight outside, and then they jump on these pipes, and then the thing starts, I guess the force field that protects it from lava breaks. And then they're fighting, Well, and then they jump on these little like things on the lava now, and they're actually near the lava. Then they continue fighting, and Obi-Wan jumps onto like a hill, and then Anakin tries to catch up, and then he gets his legs and his other hand cut off. And then Obi-Wan's like, you're like, he says this speech like, you're my brother. And he's whispering balance to the Force, and Anakin says, I hate you. And then he starts burning up, because I guess he's near the lava, and then he starts burning up, and he gets caught on fire, and then Obi-Wan just kind of leaves. He just kind of leaves, and there you go. That was the fucking battle. The epic battle there. I love the battle, dude, so much. And then you also see the Emperor comes back, picks up Anakin, or Vader at this point. And then, fucking, you see Padme giving birth. Then you also, it kind of goes back and forth, and then Padme gives birth. She names it Luke and Leia, and then she dies of childbirth.
Please make sure you get all your trash out the room before you leave, please. We need to go outside.
Okay.
Okay?
Trey, come let Shani out.
I'm a little jealous y'all going to go see it before me. But when I do go, I'm going to take you again. You go with me.
Alright. Okay. Anyway, alright. So then they cut back to the scene. Anakin, or Vader. I mean, yeah, I'm just gonna call him Vader at this point because he's officially Vader. And then you see him getting like the robot legs, and then you see him get put in the suit, and then he gets the helmet put on him. I was marking out. I remember when I was seeing this in theaters. I mean, I saw Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, but Revenge of the Sith, dude, I was so hyped for it. And then to see him get the suit put on him. I'm a big Darth Vader fan. He's my favorite villain. He's my favorite Star Wars villain in general. And then he gets put, and he rises, and he has the voice. And then Vader asks where Padme was, and Palpatine says he killed her. And then that's the only thing I really didn't like when he said no. That part kind of killed it, but it was still a cool moment. If you just cut that part out, then it's still a cool scene. And then you see Padme. I know I'm kind of switching orders, but Padme, and you see Leia, and you see but then you see Obi-Wan, Yoda, and then Senator Organa talk. Then they're talking about where they're going to put the kids because they don't want the Empire finding them. They take Luke to Tatooine, which I still think, why would you take him there? You know, that's where Vader was born. That's where Anakin was born. Why would you take him there? I didn't get that, but whatever. And then Senator Organa takes the girl. And then they go to the planets. I know this is after this scene, but this scene, I think, should have ended the movie. You see Vader coming up, and they're on the Star Destroyer. And you actually see Grand Moff Tarkin, and then you see Palpatine, and Vader and Palpatine look on, and you see the Death Star being built. The movie should have ended there. In my opinion, that would have been the perfect part. So you really didn't need to show where Leia and Luke go. We already know where they go. You know what I mean? I just felt like you didn't really need to, or at least show that scene before, because the movie should have ended there, where Vader and Palpatine looking on, and you see the Death Star being built. It should have ended there. Just my opinion. So, Revenge of the Sith, I'm giving an 8. And no, 8.9. 8.5. Love this movie. This movie was so awesome. It was such an epic movie. I don't care what anyone says. Now, let me kind of give my synopsis on the prequels now. The prequel hate is ridiculous. I only feel like people hate on the prequels. Not everybody, but most people really only hate the prequels because it's the cool thing to do. You know, it's like they're not as bad as people make them out to be. There's much worse movies. They're not up there with The Last Airbender, Dragon Ball Evolution. Like, those are shit movies. Those are like dog shit movies. The prequels are not that bad. I'm not saying the prequels were great, but I'm just saying they're not as bad as people make them out to be. And one of the complaints I don't like is the fights are too choreographed. You know, that's not the only movie that done choreographed fights, right? There's many movies that done overly choreographed fights. It's not the only movie to do that. And it was a cool fight, though. It was a cool fight. So now just let me get so review. I like the prequels. I loved all the Star Wars movies in a way. You know, I grew up on Star Wars. So now let's get to the original trilogy. Episode 4, New Hope. The movie starts off you with the one of the rebel ships being attacked by Vader and the stormtroopers, and then Leia gets captured, and then C-3PO and R2 get before Leia sends a message to Obi-Wan Kenobi to help her. So then R2 and C-3PO escape. Then you go to Tatooine, where they get picked up by Luke Skywalker, and he lives. He's
Alright, don't forget the key to your dad's house, and then here's the key.
Alright.
You left it in the bathroom.
Alright.
You need another keychain, huh? This one's closed?
Yeah. Um. But yeah. Like, okay. Back at it. So yeah, Luke is a little farm boy, lives with his family that adopted him. They showed in the end of episode 3, and um, then while he's out, he meets Ben Kenobi. This was which was kind of cool. It's old Obi-Wan, and then they go out and they come back and this house is burned to a crisp. The one thing I didn't like though, Luke didn't show any emotion. It's like you just watched your family just get burnt. You're burned to a crisp. You have no reaction to it. Also, then they cut to the Death Star, and they're in the Death Star. Then they blow up. It has powerful enough to blow up a planet, so they blow up Alderaan, and then Leia doesn't have a reaction. Yeah, I know. I mean, people like to hate the prequels, but come on, no reaction whatsoever. Like, come on. Then they go to the cantina. Luke gets picked on by a couple thugs, and Obi-Wan cuts one of their arms off. There they meet Han Solo, who kills Greedo. Then Han's talking with Jabba, and
Okay.
then
Right here in front of the toaster.
all right, then they get on the Millennium Falcon, and then there they try to. Then they go to the Death Star. They go in. So I'm just gonna get right to the scene where they go to the Death Star. I'm trying to give a short synopsis of the movies. I don't need to do every scene. You know what I mean? And then they go to the Death Star. And then they kill. Then they take stormtrooper outfits, pose as stormtroopers, and then they save Leia, but then they get thrown into this compost area. They escape. Then you see Ben Kenobi and Vader fight, but Vader ends up winning. And then they leave. Luke and the rest of the rebels leave, and then they go to a rebel fort. And there they talk about how they're going to destroy the Death Star. So then they proceed to the Death Star battle, which is probably the best part of the movie, in my opinion. And then they do. Luke proceeds to blow it up. And you actually see Vader's TIE Fighter. He gets in one of them. And then they blow up the Death Star, and then they award the group of like awards and stuff for destroying the Death Star, and that's how the movie ends. Episode 4, A New Hope. This is the first Star Wars movie. This is the very first Star Wars movie. It wasn't called A New Hope. Originally, it was just called Star Wars. In my opinion, as much as I respect this movie for that, this movie is kind of boring. I feel like nothing happens. And then now that I know Luke and Leia are brother and sister, seeing them kiss a couple times is just awkward. Like, oh my god, knowing that. But if I were to rate Episode 4, I would rate it a 7. I don't think it's a terrible movie. I just think it's just at some parts it's just boring, you know? It's just kind of boring at some parts. But it's a great, overall, I love Star Wars. I love this movie. It was a great movie. Just kind of boring in the middle. Now to Empire Strikes Back. I'm just going to go by, or episode 5 if you want to go there. Empire Strikes Back. Came out in 1980. This one, this is my favorite Star Wars movie of all time. This is definitely my favorite one of all time. The story was just awesome. So the story is in this one. The movie starts off, they're on a Hoth. They're on the Hoth planet. And you see Luke riding a Tauntaun, but he gets kidnapped by a Yeti. I'm just going to say a Yeti. I forgot what the name of the creature actually was, but I'm going to call it a Yeti. And then you see the Rebel base. Then Han realizes Luke hasn't returned, so he kind of sets out to look for Luke. Then you see Luke back in the Yeti's like cave, where he somehow gets the Force, cuts himself out, cuts the Yeti's arm off, and then, or it's called a Wampa. It's called a Wampa. There you go, Wampa. Cuts the Wampa's hand off, and then he tries to go in the to the snow, and he kind of passes out because of the cold. And then you also see Han blow up like a secret Empire, like, robot. And then you also see the Empire show up, and you actually hear the Imperial March, which is just one of my favorite Star Wars piece of music ever. And then, then the Empire attack Hoth. They send the giant turtle walkers, and then, they basically, the Imperial Battle of Hoth, which is a cool battle, by the way. But the rebels realize the Empire is too much. So Luke pilots one of the snow fighters. Now he's recovered from his injuries. And he pilots one of the snow fighters, and he takes out one of the walkers. And then Darth Vader shows up along with a couple of clones, stormtroopers at this point. And then he tries to capture Luke, because he wants Luke. But turns out Luke wasn't even on in the Millennium Falcon, so the Millennium Falcon manages to escape. Also, Luke goes to Dagobah to get his Jedi training. Because I forgot to mention this. While Luke, before he passes out, Ben Kenobi shows up as a ghost and says, "Go to the Dagobah system." And there you'll meet Master Yoda. And then the crew, basically, they try to outrun basically the Empire, and then they go into a cave and hide there. Then you see Luke land on Dagobah. Then his ship sinks in like the swamp, and there he meets Yoda, but Yoda acts like he's just some annoying guy, and then he is revealed to be Yoda. And then he gets his Jedi training, basically. And it kind of goes back and forth. You see a training montage of Luke, and then they go back to the crew, and then turns out the cave they went wasn't a cave, but it was like a worm. And they escape there. And then I guess they're heading to Cloud City, because he knows someone there, Lando. And then Luke, the one scene you see Luke actually going into the Force, and he sees Vader. And then he cuts Vader's head off, and then it turns out to be Luke's face. So in a way, it's foreshadowing, showing that Vader's a Skywalker. That's what that scene was. But at the time, probably people didn't even know that. But now, like, you look back at it, that's really what it was. And then Vader's talking to bounty hunters to look for the Millennium Falcon. You see, then that's where Boba Fett debuts in this movie. And then you see Boba Fett chasing off the Millennium Falcon. Then they go to Cloud City, where they meet Lando. And Lando's acting like, "Oh, you can come here and stuff." And then they go to dinner, and there you see Vader in all his glory. Han tries to shoot him, and Vader just blocks it with his hand. And yeah, so it turns out Lando kind of double-crossed them. Well, and also because he has to protect Cloud City, because probably Vader would have destroyed it if he didn't listen. So, then then they take Han to this room where they put Han in that freezing thing, carbon freezing, and then he gets frozen. So you kind of see that. It was kind of cool. It was a cool scene. It's a cool little moment. And then the Empire tries to take him. And then Lando realizes the Empire. Oh, they're bad now. So he's trying to. He basically tries to save him. Tries to save Han from the bounty hunter. But they can't. So they go in the Millennium Falcon. And there Luke shows up, and then Luke and Vader have the main battle, which was awesome. I think this is definitely one of the best fights of the original series. Some would argue that the one from 6 was better. I think this one was better because it was like the first time. And then they were using like actual objects on each other, like, and stuff like that. That was kind of cool. And then Vader chops off Luke's hand. And then Vader says, like, what Luke did. Obi-Wan didn't tell him what happened to his father, to Luke's father. And then Luke said, oh, you killed him. Like, no. And then where they reveal, this is where the epic reveal of Luke, I am your father. So I love the line. It's one of probably the best movie quotes of all time. Luke just doesn't want to believe it. And then he tries to have Luke join the dark side. And they also do show the Emperor in one scene, like a hologram, talking to Vader. And then Luke just kind of falls, and then he's dangling from something, and the Millennium Falcon saves him, so they save him. Then you also, in one scene, you see Luke and Vader have like a mental conversation, like, and I'm like, wait, so Luke just accept Vader's his dad now? It's like, okay, damn. And then you see Luke get the robot hand. Except it actually wasn't like really a robot hand. It was like they actually had put skin on it this time. And then this is Black Panther. And then that's pretty much the end of episode Empire Strikes Back. My favorite one. This is definitely my favorite of the original trilogy. Not just that, it's my favorite Star Wars movie in general. This movie was just awesome. Because this was the very first one I watched. I watched this before A New Hope. So, I love this movie. Everything about it. So, if I had to rate this movie 9 out of 10. Definitely a 9 out of 10. I love this movie. Now to, Return of the Jedi, or Episode 6. I like this one too. This one is definitely a good way to end the saga. So the end of the saga. So let's start. So Episode 6 begins with C-3PO trying to go to Jabba's palace, which they get in. And then Luke shows up. And then there's like this bounty hunter. It turns out to be Princess Leia. She manages to unfreeze Han. Then Luke shows up, tries to save his friends, because it turns out Leia was captured, and then that's where Slave Leia comes in. And then Luke shows up, and then they drop him into a pit, which turns out to be the Rancor pit. Luke kills the Rancor, manages to kill the Rancor. Then they're captured. Then they're going to be dumped into the Sarlacc. And then the crew manages to escape. Leia kills Jabba by choking him out with a chain. Boba Fett gets killed, and they bitched him out too. Oh my god. He gets his lightsaber, Luke gets his lightsaber, cuts fucking Bubba's gun, and then he just falls. He just falls. It's like, and I've heard a lot of complaints about the Slave Leia outfit, like, oh, it's too objectifying, and I'm like, dude, this is the moment she becomes a fucking hero. She chokes out Jabba the fucking Hutt. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck? And then Luke goes back to Dagobah to try, I guess, to get more training. But it turns out Yoda's too old and kind of dies, and he reveals that there's another. Um, he reveals that there's another Skywalker. Then he talks to Obi-Wan, and then basically Obi-Wan didn't want to tell him that. Because Luke wants to know, like, why didn't you just tell me that Vader was my father? Because he pretty much says, oh, Vader figuratively killed him. Like, come on. Oh, also, the Emperor shows up. Oh, I kind of forgot to mention that. The Vader shows up onto the new Death Star. There's a second Death Star. Then the Emperor shows up, and then he goes into his like main little chamber, and then they basically talk about planning to destroy the new Death Star. They go to Endor. There they meet the Ewoks. Oh god, that's one of the things I hated about the movie. I hated the Ewoks. Just like, how did they? Because originally it was actually gonna be Wookiees, which Wookiees would have made sense, but then they. All right, Ma.
You guys have fun.
All right.
When are you leaving?
Like at 12. So.
Make sure you lock the house up.
All right.
And take this trash out before you leave.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Um. Then they have like a little bit of a party. Then Luke and Leia have a little bit of a conversation. There he reveals that they're brother and sister, basically. And then did she say, I've always known? Something. Then why'd you kiss him? Like, why did you kiss him then? It's like, I've always known, but you kissed him. Like, what the fuck? Oh my god. And then Luke gets captured. I think he voluntarily gets himself captured. Then him and Vader talk about, and then talk, and then he wants basically Vader to turn good again. And Vader's like, it's too late for me. And then they go to the Death Star to talk to the Emperor. Then the Emperor wants him to join the Empire. And then I guess Luke kind of refuses, and then Luke and Vader battle. Luke's gotten much stronger, and then kind of out of anger, cuts Vader's hand off, and then doesn't want to join the Empire because he doesn't want to kill. And then Palpatine shocks him, gives him the Force Lightning. Then during this, you see the Rebels trying to destroy the Death Star too. While Palpatine's shocking Luke, Vader kind of turns good again, throws Palpatine through a shaft, and he kind of dies. And then Vader is like wheezing for breathing, and then he's trying to evacuate. They're trying to evacuate because the Death Star is about to be destroyed. And then he ends up. Vader is unmasked, and then the Death Star gets destroyed. And then there's like a big celebration, and then in the end you see Anakin. Even in the newer release, in the newer like editions of the movie, Anakin is Hayden Christensen. It's the Hayden Christensen Anakin. In the original, it was old Anakin, but in this one, the newer ones, it was like the newer like versions of the movie. It's actually Hayden Christensen as Anakin. And then basically the movie ends. So Return of the Jedi, love this movie. It's a great movie. There were some stupid moments like the Ewok shit, but other than that, the movie itself isn't entirely bad. I liked it. If I were to rate it, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. So overall, I love Star Wars. I'm seeing the new movie between either today or tomorrow. I don't know when I'm gonna see it, but today or tomorrow I'm seeing the new one. So I'll definitely review that one for my channel. Next week there's gonna be I'm gonna do the best of 2015 for WWE. I'm doing that, and then I'm also gonna do my favorite movies this year. So other than that, guys, I'm gonna sign off here. See you guys probably tomorrow if I watch it. Like if I watch it today, I'll see what time I watch it and I'll see if I'll review it later. If I watch it tomorrow, I'll review it tomorrow. Other than that, guys, I'm gonna sign off here. Peace.